Welcome to First and 10 with Rams football coach Joe Prud'homme. I'm Jimmy the St. Christopher. On homecoming Saturday, this past Saturday at Farrington, the Rams crushed North American University 61-7. They now have 8 wins. That's this many, the most in franchise history for the Rams. And they're 8-2 overall, now 6-2 in the SAC. They're tied with ACU and Ottawa. Some big numbers, 488 total yards. The Stallions were held to 183. Rogers to Thomas, a 56-yard TD. LaFrance, a pick, led to 2 Caesar touchdowns. Jason Price, a 92-yard punt return, 29-0 at the half, Coach. How much more can you say about Mr. Electric, Jason Price?
He's unbelievable. I mean, most people set up for the return, and they'll have blockers and all that, and we're going for the block, and since we're going for the block, he's on his own a lot of times back there, and man, he's just amazing. That return, we saw 3 blocks total, maybe, and that was after he had gone through about 7 of them, and he's just making a miss, and he's just so electric, but he also, his vision's great, and he's always going vertical. He's not getting horizontal. He's not wiggling in sideways. It's always one cut here. Great vision, make a cut there. He's spectacular. He's the best return guy at our level that I've seen ever in the league.
Why do you think guys punt to him?
Well, they're under so much pressure. We're putting so much pressure on them as far as for the punt block. They don't really have a choice of where they can place it. That's part of when you try to get after the punter that hard. Sometimes it's to force a bad punt. And, some people think, well, you got to get the block to make it effective. Not really. If you get them off timing and it's a poor punt or they're not able to aim it, it gives us opportunity to return it, which is kind of a different way of looking at it. But it's I wouldn't kick to him. I'd probably go for it before I'd kick to him, for sure. Yeah, that kid can go. He's good.
Do you kind of expect him to do that? Is it a disappointment when he doesn't do it? But he's been doing it a lot lately. 3 in the last 4 games?
It's I don't expect it, but nothing surprises me if he does go to the house with it. I mean, that's the wild part is, like, he broke a kickoff return. He almost took that one to the house. He just needed about another yard on the sideline to break it, and I'm just impressed with it, man. I'm telling you, I expect him to go to the house every time I see him catch it, if he has any room at all. And that's just it's a real credit to him, his vision and his skill set.
And he's young, so how much better can he actually be?
Oh, man, I don't know. That's a great question. It could be, he could get tremendously better. He could get a little better. What's interesting about Jason is he was good as a freshman last year, and then he put on weight in the offseason, and, he was kind of going through some things. And, I mean, he was downright, I don't want to say fat because he wasn't fat. He wasn't even chubby, but he was overweight for him. And we teased him, but we kept on, and we kept working with him and said, man, you got to lose weight. You got to get back to what you were because you're electric, and you got to be electric. Man, he did everything he had to make it work, and it's a real credit to him what he's done. Not only he's like a 3.56 in the classroom, and he does it all. But that takes a lot of discipline to lose that weight, to come back and putting together the season he is right now. It's spectacular.
And Carson Rogers got his second start, 14 out of 23, 240 yards, 4 TDs. You said last week that you'd like to see him calm down. How much calmer was he?
Oh, it was night and day. It was completely night and day. I mean, he was so much calmer. He has such a good grasp of things. His reads were really good. He was making the right throws. His footwork was a little off, but, you can be picky about it, but those numbers are really good. 4 touchdowns, I think, is the most passing we've had this year in a game. I thought his command of the offense was outstanding. He really synced up with Alizé Thomas, Zoo. They had a great day of connecting. You hit a 4th down touchdown on a fade route and put it in a good spot, and receiver makes a difficult catch, but he makes it. A couple of RPOs that he took. The throw to Ernie was spectacular because it was so quick. He read it so fast. The ball got out. Ernest had a chance to do something with it as opposed to getting it late and not being able to do something. And I thought Carson did a great job of avoiding sacks. There were no sacks. There were no turnovers. There were 4 touchdowns. That's a good day by a quarterback. And there were a couple times he broke free, and his timing was good. As far as his time, I feel the pocket breaking down and just go and get some yards. And he'd get, 5, 6. He's not a big threat to run, but he's so long. When he gets rolling, he can eat up some yards. So I was very happy with his performance. It was night and day.
And you mentioned Zoo, the big game by Zoo Thomas.
Yep.
So was a trust there developed, obviously, between Rodgers and he and the other receivers? You talked last week about him developing the trust.
Yeah, I think so to a certain degree. I mean, tongue-in-cheek last week with him, I went up to Carson was sitting there, we were warming up and everything, and Zoo was right there, and I said, hey, Zoo, come here. And I told Carson, I said, Carson, I don't know if you've met this kid yet. This is Zoo Thomas. This is Alizé. You know, he was open all last week except for 2 times. You need to introduce yourself and figure out, you know, it's good to throw to him because he's open a lot. And I was teasing him, but also he really was open a lot. So I went ahead and made that introduction, kind of teased him a little bit. But no, his chemistry throughout the week got better and better, and his timing with him was better. And I think that came with more reps. And you know, Fran and Kobe Kraft, he's such a great job coaching him. It's and I'm excited to see what Cole does this week. We plan on playing Cole and getting some stuff, work with him as well with Carson. And Cole came in the Wesleyan game and was really good. But, you know, in order to keep his red shirt, we're going to only play him in 2. But, man, I'm excited to see what those 2 do this weekend.
And you wanted Rodgers to get into that flow. Did he get into that flow that you wanted?
Yeah, he did. It was a little slower starting, but once he got into the flow, you could see the rhythm of the offense take off, and it was really nice to see, especially second and third quarters. It started to really get into a good rhythm, and that's credit to him. He was finding his way, and offensive line was outstanding again, like they have been. Ernie was really good, but the passing game was critical this week because they were going to try to take away the run.
And 7 for 144, and those 2 touchdowns for Zoo. Is that what you've waited for to see from Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, but he has to have opportunities. He didn't have many targets. There weren't enough targets for Zoo, and he's just a really talented, experienced receiver who understands how to get open and put himself in a good position and then do something with the ball afterwards. And yeah, we've been kind of waiting on that, but it was better late than never, and I thought he had a great day.
And the plan, I guess, was to spread it around 5 others in addition to Zoo caught balls. So was that the game plan going in to pick out just like one receiver like Zoo, or to spread it around to the open guy?
Oh, spread it around. Yeah. Spread it around. Definitely, if you can spread it around and hit a multitude of receivers and get them in open spots, it just balances out the offense. And that was, you know, since Arizona Christian, that was our most balanced offensive effort of the year, you know, between run and pass. And a lot of different guys touched the ball, made catches. So it was that. You really want that all the time if you can get it.
And Kobe Gadsden got some play at quarterback, and A.J. San Miguel at running back. What did you see from those guys?
Those guys, they really run our attack teams against the starting defense a lot. Kobe's got crazy arm talent. Some of the stuff he does during practice is, you know, he'll make the sidearm throw and hit a 30-yarder downfield, and he'll come over the top. And you know, early on he was struggling with a little bit of the grasp of the offense and got kind of behind those other guys. But he does he's so talented in practice that, you know, I knew when he got in the game, if he was calm, he would really do well, and he did. A.J. San Miguel always runs hard, man. I mean, he brings it all the time. And on his touchdown, I think he broke like 3 tackles. He was rolling, and he wasn't going to be denied. So I was really excited to see all those guys that got to play. A lot of the young linemen played. A whole lot of guys got to play that normally don't. Keyshawn Rubel came in and made an impact. He is a hitting machine. I mean, he had 2 really big hits in the game, and he's just real talent. He's an Eastern Hills kid who came over, and he is blossoming into a really, really good football player.
In games like that, I try to put the glasses on guys that don't normally play, and you start, especially the fourth quarter, start bringing in the second and third string guys and stuff. Yeah. What about the offensive line? How did the second and third stringers perform on the OL?
I thought really well. I mean, you saw that we kept scoring. I mean, it wasn't that North American was bringing in as wholesale changes. We were still doing well with that second group, and in practice they get a lot of reps. I mean, Coach Higgins does a great job of rotating those linemen a lot so that they have an opportunity to get reps, of what we're doing live throughout the week. And I thought Nico Espinoza came in and did well. I thought that Caden Benavidez, just a whole bunch of them came in and did a great job. Ibrahim did a great job. Auger came in, Ronald Morrison. And then we had Wyatt Hill and just a number of guys that came in, and I won't say we didn't miss a beat, but we were still moving the football. And Ty Williams came in and You saw what Ty Williams can do.
Yes.
He's really, really, I thought, ran great. I was really happy to see him do that.
You had mentioned last week for the game this past Saturday, one of the bugaboos was bad snaps and penalties. And boy, lo and behold, there was a number of bad snaps there. How do those happen? How do you correct those?
You just work at it. I mean, but the bad snaps, so there was none under center, and that was my main concern were those because when you're fumbling the under center snaps, that means there's something technically wrong. There were some bad snaps from the centers, especially Wyatt had a few high ones there when he came in. It's just that he was leaning forward too much. We corrected it. And you saw after that one series we had 2 or 3 of them, it settled down when we got him to the side and made some corrections. Penalties were better. I mean, we didn't have as many. And there's a couple of them that maybe not, but you can't help it. I mean, that's football. You're playing hard. But I thought the officiating overall was really good. And I thought we improved a lot of areas. We were sharper. We had a killer instinct in the red zone. Our special teams were better. We weren't as sloppy. We were sloppy on a couple of 2-point plays because there was a couple of miscommunications between myself and a couple of them. I'll take those and I have to fix it. And then on our protection for the field goal, they were overloading the gap and we didn't make the adjustment. But we have now, so we'll fix it.
Brendan Snow and I were talking about snapping, how hard it is, and both not only for long snapping but for regular snapping, under center, shotgun. But how underrated is a center or a long snapper?
Oh, you better have a great center. For me, you always build your football team up the middle, right? So it's got to be your center, your quarterback, and then on the defense, your free safety has to be on point, and you have to have a dominant big man in the middle, and your middle linebacker has to be really smart and being able to communicate. So centers are critical. We're fortunate to have Peter and even Wyatt coming in and doing a really good job as well. We put a lot of stock in our centers, and they start every play, and they have to make a lot of calls up front, and that's you can't overestimate the value of a great center.
And within the SAC, there were some big games. I know you were scoreboard watching right
bit.
after the Rams game. You went scoreboard watching. So what did you think of the ACU win over Langston and then the Ottawa victory?
Ottawa I expected, but the ACU and Langston was going to be tightly contested. We knew that, and it was a good game. Langston had every opportunity to win it and didn't. It's tough to travel out to Arizona. Yeah. It really is. It's hard, and so I think for them it's got to be hard for them to get on the road because they got to do so much travel as well. But I didn't really care who won the games. I mean, I was wanting to see where it all fall out. But it's now a 3-way tie, and you look at it however you want to look at it. I mean, we beat Arizona Christian by a pretty good margin. They squeaked by Ottawa. Ottawa squeaked by us. So we'll just have to see how all this sorts itself out.
And now after the final week, which is this week, how do they figure out who wins the conference?
Well, they have a rule in place that if the team that is ranked in the top 20 will be declared the champion for the sake of getting into the playoffs, the AQ, the automatic qualifier. There's 12 automatics in the conferences if you're ranked in the top 20. If you're not ranked in the top 20, then it goes to tiebreakers. Or if 2 teams are in the top 20, then it goes to tiebreakers to determine it. I don't like the system. I think that when you have coaches deciding it, there can be conflicts of interest. There can be biases that you may or may not even be aware of. I think it needs to be to an independent, objective third party. Take it out of the coach's hands and let somebody else do the rankings, go to a computerized model, do whatever, to where the coaches don't have to have the input or the pressure to do it. And then you have you would have a much more defined true champion on the field. Because if you went by point differential, it'd be us. If you went, you could play a couple different scenarios, but I think it's important that what is decided on the field should decide the championship, and it's really not the case at this time.
Yes, I think James McBride, you and myself, before we started recording today, we're talking about possibility of a conference title game. Do you think that would ever happen?
It's hard, and what it always boils down to is money. It's always a financial consideration. You'd have to build in another week. You'd have to have another week of travel. And what would you, you'd have to shrink down probably your bye. What if it's a 3-way tie? How do you get to 2 teams to play? it's a possibility. It sounds good, but it can be difficult in actual execution of that.
And now you say 20 teams, the top 20 in the NAIA rankings, but there's only 16 teams, right, that play 8
make
games
the
in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So how do they figure the 16 out of the 20?
They take the 12 qualifiers out of the conference champions typically, and then there's 4 at-large bids. So, and there's some conferences that would just as soon 1 or 2 conferences not get in and vote them down, so then they can bring a second team out of their conference, and that's happened in the past. So I don't like the system, but it's not my call.
A regular season finale is Saturday, 2 p.m. at Farrington. Rams will play Lyon. They're 1-8, 0-8 in the conference. Again, senior day. And how do you see Lyon?
Lyon, they've struggled this year. They're real young, and I think that has a lot to do with it. They're a very young football team, and they get sometimes just overmatched at times. They're very well coached. Their scheme is good. What they're doing is good. Their execution is good. I just think you got a case of a young team playing some older teams is really what it is. They should have beat Texas College. They did win their non-conference game. It's just they've struggled in those areas, as far as just the overall game, as far as the athletic, being older, more mature, I think plays a lot into it.
Do they have any players on offense or defense that you would be concerned with?
Yeah, the quarterback concerns me for Lyon. Defensively, they got a really good defensive end. They got a safety that's really, pretty sound. Kicking game, their kicking game's really good. They got a very good kicking game. And like I said, they're well coached, so they may spring something new on us that we're like, oh my goodness, we have to make some adjustments. So we'll see. We'll see. We just got to play a real solid game. If we play the way we did last week, I'll feel really good about it. We were good in all 3 areas. We had the one lull in the third quarter to where we gave up the third quarter opening drive by North American. Outside of that, we were real solid on defense, and offensively, our balance was so good. If we play like that, we can play with anybody in the country when we play like that.
With the finale and a team that's winless in the conference, how hard is it to get your club up for a team that's 0-8 in the conference?
I hope not hard. I mean, the thing you tell your seniors and even your team is, this is your last rodeo. How do you want to go out? How do you really want to take a chance and kind of fritter it away and not play well, and you kind of sleepwalk when you've been playing for so long and you put in so much work? How would you not give a great effort? How would you not want to go out with a bang? And for the younger guys, the underclassmen, our approach with them, and even for them, it should be, we want to send our seniors out with a bang. We want them to have a great last game, and so that when they leave here, they feel good about it, but also it gives them a chance to look back and say, I'm going to want those groups behind me to play hard whenever I get to that level of my career, that stage of my career. And so I don't think it'll be hard to get them up. I mean, I was a little worried about this last week because it was a non-conference opponent, but we were, we preached all week about killer instinct in the red zone and finishing plays and doing those things, and they did it. Against Texas College, we didn't do it. We were sloppy. But we came into this one, and we did a much better job of it. Their focus was good. They responded well. I'm hoping that they want to go out with a bang, and that's what I fully expect to happen.
How many seniors offhand are there playing?
Right at 20. Right at 20. So it's a good number going out. A lot of guys have gone with us, for a long time. I'm going to miss them. I mean, those guys have been with us through the really lean times, and now to a point to where we're, really at the top of the conference, in the top group. It's going to be, I'm going to have some really mixed emotions Saturday. I'm excited for them and their next chapters in their lives, but also I'm going to miss them. Those guys have been fun to coach, and they're all like sons to me. It's going to be like losing a whole bunch of sons at one time, but they're ready to make the move on to the next stages of their life.
Now, if there are a lot of guys, seniors that don't start, would you, if you get out to a big lead, or even if you don't get out to a big lead, would you start, most of those?
You wouldn't start them, but you can play them. We're planning on playing the guys. There's really very few that don't play. There's a couple, but they'll get a chance to play. Yeah, we got them in positions to where they can get some time this week for sure.
Good luck getting them ready this week.
You.
Good luck with the finale. It's
Thank
2
you.
p.m. Saturday at Farrington, senior day. Rams looking for their franchise, well, they'll break their franchise record because they have it now with 8 wins in a season, looking for their 9th win on Saturday. Coach, good luck. Go get them.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Jimmy.
For Coach Joe, for Ricky Dotson, Athletic Director, James McBride, the SID, and Coach Joe Prud'homme and his staff, Jimmy the St. Christopher saying so long, see you next time on 1st and 10.